So here it is, you guys, my 20-gallon bucket indoor shrimp pond. This is, I've featured this bad boy on the channel before when I first upgraded the shrimp into it. They were in a 5-gallon. My colony of blue really cherry shrimp was in a 5-gallon standard aquarium. And they were doing fine, but they just didn't have enough room to really grow as a colony or as individuals, apparently, because they are, you can see them here. They're just little guys. I don't know why they weren't getting to full size, but they are already doing better. They're already growing. They've already had babies. I can try to locate some for you. So here's my finger. That's a snail. But then both of those other black dots that are like smaller than a grain of sand, there and there, those are actually shrimplets. Let's see, can I digitally zoom on that guy? Yeah, see that shape? That's a shrimp. I also have, if we can catch them, 2 guppy fry in here. I have guppy in my main community tank. And they had babies, so I scooped them out and put them in here. When they get big enough to be a threat to even the smallest shrimplets, which won't be that long, I'll have to take them out again. But for now, they were probably going to get snapped up in the community tank. So they're safer in here. There's 2 of them. Guppies have a whole lot more than 2 babies at once, but I guess they ate all but 2 by the time I noticed. Not a huge deal. Anyhow, enough of my rambling. You may be disappointed with the look of the pond. Even in the last video, I had a bunch of pothos and other plants hanging over the side, and I was talking about a waterfall feature. Unfortunately, not a lot of that has gotten done. We do have some floating plants here. This is called water lettuce, and the shrimp absolutely love it. If you can see, they crawl underneath it, and they just kind of they go upside down underneath it, and they just munch away at the roots, not at the actual plant matter, but at the algae that's formed. You can see some antenna there. They were very shy for the first week or 2 even, but now they stand out in the open against the orange backdrop with confidence, which is great. Again, this bad boy is orange because I found it on the side of the road and it was free. And I wanted to get a little experimental. So yeah, we've got dirt capped with sand. We've got hygrophilea, water lettuce, a little bit of java moss in there, a couple other plants, a bunch of Marimo moss balls that I had kicking around. I also went to a great length to procure a bubble filter, you know, where you have an air pump outside of the tank, and then you have this thing, a sponge filter, and the air blows through it and it filters in that way. I thought it was best because these are cherry shrimp. They don't like a lot of current in the water. So with an underwater or motorized filter, I should say, you get current. Obviously, it's like a jet blowing out of the thing. With these guys, you just get bubbles going up. Unfortunately, with this thing, the bubbles break the surface tension and make it all shimmery, and you can't see in at all. Just like when the jets are going in your bathtub and you can't see your own genitalia. You know what I'm talking about. So as soon as I set that up, I realized it wasn't going to work because I can't look at this thing from the side, right? It only is a top view. So we need a crystal clear, undisturbed top. So I turned both of these filters. This is good to 15 gallons and this is good to 5. This might actually be a 20. And together they're definitely enough. And I turned down their strength. So if you observe, there's a very, very slow circle happening that the shrimp don't seem to mind at all, and I think creates a really cool effect. And it is a solution for now, but obviously, remember, we're only working with the top-down view, and this is god ugly. I left this sponge in there because it's actually got bacteria growing inside of it that are beneficial, and it still will passively, and it still is going to passively filter the water as this circle continues. We can obscure all this stuff with plants and driftwood and whatever else. We'll get there eventually. Or not. This is about breeding shrimp, right? I don't ever expect it to be my coolest setup. It's a big goddamn upside down traffic cone in my living room. This thing is hideous no matter how you shake it. But it is functional in a big way, and we can see that already. I see just dozens and dozens of shrimp, especially from the latest generation. Lots of little tiny guys. Can you guys even see this one? Look at him. He's like half the size of a fruit fly, but that's a baby shrimp. He was probably born today or yesterday. If you look here, you can see all this detritus gets kind of picked up from wherever it is in the tank and pushed around in a circle and then deposited on a surface like this, and the shrimp go nuts for it. It also gets collected in the little skinny roots of these guys, and they love it. Also, you can see this reflective kind of oil slick type stuff. That is a protein film that's just seems to develop no matter what I do. If I had a hang over the back filter or any kind of filter that disturbed the surface or fed off of the surface, see how it goes away from the oil of my hands? Is it the oil of my hands or just the disturbance of the water? I don't know. The protein film on the top of the water seems to just be a fact of life right now. Again, at the right angle, you can't see it at all, so it's cool. But when you get low, it becomes ugly. Same with the reflection from the light there. But ultimately, the plants really pop. Actually, the orange background is reflective in its own right, and also contrasts nicely with the green of the plants and makes things really, really pop. So I think this looks fine. So here we are looking at one of actually my larger shrimp. And here's another one of the larger ones as well. And that one that's helicoptering across there, he's about the same size, but these guys should really get at least twice this big, sometimes 4 times as big as what you see here. And I don't know, hopefully they will gain the size that I want them to be, because that's when their color really pops, right? When they're so little, they appear mostly clear, but they are actually what's called blue lily shrimp that have a blue body segment, clear body segment, blue body segment, clear body segment, and then blue tail. And they're absolutely gorgeous, and I think they're really cool. I just don't know if I've got a dwarf mutation in the population or something. Again, my whole colony, which is definitely over 100, comes from 2 much larger females that I bought from a pet store. I saw they were both heavily pregnant, and I said, yes, please, brought them home, and they both had their eggs hatched the next day. So that was the start of the whole thing. Shrimp that cost $7.99 each. I have 100 plus of them now, but you know, they've got to get up to adult size to be worth anything, really. So we will keep feeding them. We'll keep this light on so that the plants grow and a moderate amount of algae forms, but really this protein scum on the top is a complete diet for these guys, so they can just hang out on the floating plants and munch on that stuff as it comes by. And this will just perpetuate itself in perpetuity. All I really have to do is a water change. Strict / good hobbyists would say once a week, but because there are only filter feeders in here, except for those 2 little guppy fry, I could get away with 1 a month easily, especially considering I also have overfiltration and passive filtration. So the plants are exploding thanks to a dirter bottom. The colony is exploding. I just hope it will get a little beefier. And these guppies are loving it in here too, because they don't have to hide. They've figured it out that they can swim in the open and nobody's going to eat them. So that's cool and cute. As for snails, I see Malaysian trumpet snails in here, which I don't want, but most people don't consider them a pest. And consider them actually useful in terms of aerating your substrate. I don't care about that. I think they suck. I also have the snails that I actually want to be in here, which is red ram's horn snails, which I try to grow in all of my tanks because they make a great staple food for my puffer fish. So I see them taking off too. A lot of these black dots that you see on the side, if they're not a baby shrimp, and I know you can barely see them, but if they're not a baby shrimp, they are a baby ram's horn snail. So that's cool. You guys asked for an update, so you got an update. We will keep an eye on this. We'll see what it turns into. It could become something really impressive one day. It's only been about 3 weeks since I added the shrimp, but I can tell just from the way they're behaving that they're so much happier. They're so active, whereas in their old enclosure, they really didn't move much at all. They would go, you know, days at a time just standing in place. But now they're actively foraging for food, and they're obviously mating and reproducing, so couldn't ask for more. If only this wasn't orange, maybe. I don't know. I'm a big fan of cyan. That would be cool. Or like a nice robin's egg blue. That would tickle my personal weird fancy, but I think also black would be a good look. But beggars can't be choosers, right? Got a free 20 gallon.